Udja, Uben, Nefer, Nehast, Good Rising and Great Awakenings, and welcome to day 7 of 21 days of self-care, global prayer, healing post-traumatic slave syndrome with sound. And today we are on Sankofa step number 7, which is racial socialization, cultural preparation for the future. And since we're dealing with healing from these issues, so we can't have a solution that is based on the same paradigm. So we don't want to have a cultural or educational system that's based on racial. We don't want one based on tribalism, because we want to transcend time and space. We want to transcend racism. We need to transcend cultures that are only earth-based, because they'll keep us tied to the earth. We need to raise our children with socialization and cultural education that is focused on spirit, which has been, if anything, is balancing spirit and physical, like the caduceus or the arit double snakes. But we need one that will transcend earth-based reality, time and space reality. We want to transcend racism. We don't want to just respond to it. We want to transcend it. We don't want a culture that just promotes separatism and tribalism, because everybody believes their culture is the best, theirs is the oldest, and most of them are in denial that they all stem from Africa. All the traditions are, variations of Kemetic traditions, and even if you take it a step further, North, Central, and South America are also Kemetic traditions, and they're in total denial of that. The indigenous people of North, Central, and South America do not, most of them, the ones up north, do not want to hear that their roots are African. Maybe the ones in Brazil, South Central America, more so, but the ones up here, they don't want to hear that. So that's my commentary on racial socialization, cultural preparation for the future. We need to prepare our children for a spirit-based lifestyle, because that's the only way that we will transcend whatever is called the second wave of the coronavirus, which is like a more intense lockdown like what we've seen on the movies. We need a culture that's going to transcend that, like the Matrix culture. Okay, so that's my commentary. So now for the self-care summary. So the chart for today, May 16th, since we're dealing with racial socialization, cultural preparation. Who does that? The mothers. So my eyes immediately went to the 3 mothers at the top of the chart, represented by Neptune, Nebuchadnezzar, the moon Tchiya. Cetus represents the goddess Aset. Then we have Mars representing Set, all in the sign of Ku, Sidereal Aquarius, which is representing Haru. So that's where my intuition or experience led me. The extraordinary vessels that we're going to be dealing with are the Chang and the Dai Mai, and they're both in the girdle area. There's like an orbit around your hips or your waist, and so that's another indication of motherhood, mothering. And the meridians we're going to do is the heart and the governor vessel. When I first came up with this system for step 7 is independence, Haru, mothers with baggage, the Dai Mai belt. So that just started me thinking about how mothers need to be detached from the children, and we don't own them, they're not ours. We have our own lives to live, but we'll always be there for our children. Okay, so I just used the forks for Haru and Tchiya, and Haru and Nebuchadnezzar. The low frequency, the mid-range frequency, and the high frequencies. And at the moment, the fork I have for Aset is the tiny Asetis tuning fork. And I'm getting ready to order some tuning forks, not from Acutonics, so that I can have sounds for the other netters that are not represented in this planetary set. So I'm really excited to have, a KemeTones set of tuning forks that I'll be able to make available once we start the classes for initiation and professional practitioners. Right now, I'm just focusing on self-care. All right, so that is the summary. Let's see, what did I have down here? Yeah, there's my commentary. Oh, I know what else. I didn't do the reading. So for the heart meridian and the governor vessel meridian, we have the gift of dissociation. Acupuncturists appreciate Chi's gift of dissociation. It stops energy from coming through when there is a risk of burning our minds to the ground. So that's like when we're just like a mother is worried about her children, or when people are worried about COVID-19. These meridians help you, dissociate from all that and just get centered and calm. Instead of worrying so much, it's good to dissociate. And like I mentioned before, when you look in the dictionary, they make it seem like dissociation is a negative thing, but when you're recovering from trauma, it's actually a really good thing. As long as you eventually get to healing from the trauma, there are times when you need to dissociate from the trauma. You're being triggered. Burning vessels. The Chong, moving the chi between the kidneys, intergenerational patterns, traits, cellular memory, genetic disorders, inherited traits, substance abuse, the digestive center, difficult issues, difficult to digest, grandparent-grandchild, ancestral imprinting, clears both muscle memory and cellular memory, trauma, PTSD, cellular memory, old trauma, new traumas, kidney, reproductive issues, prostate issues, menstrual issues, neutral space between the kidneys. All right, and the die. Stuck in frustration, trying to get through to things but can't get to them. The only channel that goes around the body like a belt, the Milky Way, Orion, Saturn, helps us become more mobile, accelerates mobility to move by releasing from the heart. Good intentions with little or no action. Indecision, forced settling, or low self-esteem. Gallbladder, good for temporal headaches and hip pain. Back pain, hip pain, pelvic area. Okay, so that's the reading for the Chong and the Dai Mai and the heart and governor vessel meridian. Now let's move on to the global prayer. Udja, Uben, Nefer, Nehast, good rising and great awakenings. And welcome to day 7 of 21 days of self-care and global prayer, healing post-traumatic slave syndrome with sound. And Sankofa step for today is racial socialization, cultural preparation for the future. And as was discussed in the previous video, we're looking to take that one step further beyond racialism, beyond racism, beyond earth-based culture. We want to have a culture that transcends the physicality to the spiritual realm. And in the spiritual realm, there is no racism, there is no racialism, there is no tribalism. So we want to transcend these concepts that keep us attached to the earth experience, because we're going through a time now where we need to transcend our attachments to this vibration. So who's responsible for the racial socialization and cultural preparation of children? Because we're talking about the future, that would be the mothers. And so we're looking at the chart for May 16th. You see that there's 3 mothers here at the top. Nebuchadnezzar is Neptune. Shesheta is the moon. Sidis is Aset, the goddess. Here's Set. And they're all in the sign of Ku, which is connected to Uranus or Heru. So we're going to focus on the mothers and the goddesses. We have Aset, mother of wisdom and goddess of divine intuition. Shesheta, the goddess, is the cosmic scribe. And Nebuchadnezzar is the twin sister of Aset, and she represents physicality, mortality, time and space realm. She's the lady of the house. And then I have here the son, the child, the spiritual aspiration of Heru. So we want victory for the Divine Mother principle, and victory for all of the children, and victory for all the spiritual aspirants with their spiritual aspiration of enlightenment. Let's see, how did it go?
Look, Neru, I am victorious.